All right, welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I am your host. I'm Darlene Childress, and today I am excited about this, and I know everyone who's listening is going to be excited because I have Maggie Reyes, who is a marriage coach, on the podcast today. Welcome, Maggie. Say hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am so excited for everyone listening. If you listen to this podcast, you love Darlene's approach. I have a crush on her. Respectfully, I'm happily married, but I respectfully have the biggest crush on her. So I'm so excited about everything we're going to talk about today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I really thought to myself, why don't I just turn the mic on and then you just talk for 45 minutes and that would be enough. And because I want to learn, from you. And I love our work. Our approaches are similar in that we're basically relationship coaches, right?
Yes.
And where I spend all my time is coaching parents and their relationship with their kids, and then of course their relationship with themselves.
Yes.
And that's how you are too. You're coaching relationship with your partner, and
Yes.
then also relationship with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just love talking to you and having you here. So we're gonna get into it. I don't even know. Do you want to do a backstory? You want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I don't know.
You lead and I will follow. So I'm happy to introduce myself a little bit more. So before I was a coach, I worked in human resources. So I have lots of thoughts about how we relate to stressful situations, whether it's at work, in our marriage. So relationships just from every angle fascinate me. And I became a life coach and I specialized in marriage. I love continuing education. Darlene and I were talking about that earlier. And so I like to use a mix of evidence-based interventions with intuitive things that have just come to me over the years. And some of the things we're going to talk about today is a mix of both of those things. And I love to just nerd out on helping people have better relationships. So that's me.
I nerd out on it too. I just can't even believe, how much time I spend reading about the nervous system and relationships and trauma and how it plays out and like communication skills and just anything self-development. Yeah. So you and I are kindred spirits in that way. You are going to talk to us about how to have a better marriage.
Yes.
Yes. I do want to say some people on listening may not be married.
Yeah.
And they might be like, oh, this isn't for me. Or maybe they're divorced, or maybe they're, have a boyfriend or girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone listening?
So I would say how to have a better relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing we talk about, especially the topics we're going to talk about today, because I used to work in HR, thought about, is this the same for a team at work? Would these principles apply? And every time I sort of test my hypothesis for any type of relationship, like, yep, it applies here, it applies there, it applies over here. So instead of calling it how to have a better marriage, just call it how to have a better relationship. And then everyone listening, think about the relationship in your life that you wish could improve. And what we're going to talk about today, have that on your mind as I explain some of the things, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's so good. Especially, I think, like parents of teenagers or young adults often start, and I have a lot of clients who listen, because they're my friends and they've had raised their kids mostly. And they're like, ooh, how do I connect better with my young adults? And like any of that. Yeah. Or your own parents, if they're still alive. Or your siblings. So there's always room here for that.
Always room. And tell me if you found this, I'm sure you have, where you'll have someone come and work on the relationship with their child, but then all their relationships improve.
Immediately. Like in my course, they're always like, can I use this on my husband?
The answer is yes, by the way.
Yes, the answer is yes, because it's a relationship model as yours is a relationship model. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell us
the
4 essential elements for having a great relationship.
Okay, so here they are, and then I'm going to explain them and how I arrived at them and all that. So perspective, partnership, pleasure, and personal power. Now, what are these things and why do they matter? So what happens is when you're in a relationship with someone and it's not feeling amazing and you're like, what do I do about it? Where do I start? Right? When you ask yourself that question, I don't even know where to begin. Sometimes we're tied up in these emotional pretzels and we're like, where do we go? Okay, the place that you start is you ask yourself, is this a perspective issue? How I'm looking at it? Could I look at it differently? Just ask yourself, is there another way that I could look at this that would help us move forward? Is it a partnership issue? Do we have collaboration and rapport? So sometimes we're in relationships with people where we feel at odds, where we're like on opposite teams. right? So maybe it's your boss at work, maybe it's your cousin, maybe it's, your mother-in-law, whatever it may be. It's like, what if we were on the same team?
Mm.
The same team could be just, I want peace in the holidays whenever I see them, once a year. Like that could be the loosest interpretation of being on the same team could apply, right? But if we were on the same team, how would I approach this? How would I look at it? Then we bring the perspective in with the partnership. The more we want something done, the more rapport we need to build. That's just life,
Yeah.
right?
It's
So
like an emotional bank or something. You need to make a lot of
yes,
deposits in order to make
yes,
withdrawals. Yeah.
yes, 100%.
I sometimes talk about it in terms of capacity. I'll say, like,
Yeah,
you have to have a lot of emotional capacity in
yeah,
this relationship to, either follow through on a boundary or
yeah,
relational capacity. How much can your relationship take? How much can you
yes.
take? Yeah. So,
Yeah, exactly. So same, same. So is it a partnership issue? Have I spent no time building rapport
mhm.
and therefore we make no progress in whatever it is, right? And it could be with a teenager, it could be with your boss, it could be with your spouse. Like the same principle applies. So when I was thinking about, and I'll tell you the other two, but when I was coming up with this idea, I had coached, I don't know, thousands of hours. And I was like, if I were to distill the issues I coach on every single day, if I was just to go to the straight core when it's just the seed of a situation, what are the themes that always reappear over and over and over and over again? And I was like, perspective, how I'm looking at it.
Mhm.
Partnership, is there rapport? Pleasure, are we having fun?
Mhm.
And in the marriage context that I coach on most of the time is there sexual connection? Is there sexual pleasure? Are we enjoying our connection physically? But when I tried to extrapolate it to like a team at work, a team that isn't having fun at work doesn't thrive.
Mhm.
So you can have relationships, you can have all kinds of relationships. We all do, right? In order to get to thriving, to something like delight, to something like enjoyment, if you don't have these four things, thriving is what's not possible. The relationship is
Mhm.
possible. So the purpose of these things, like what gets me closer to thriving or to enjoyment or to delight,
Mhm.
it's going to be one of these four things. So we
Mhm.
talked about pleasure. So it's not necessarily just sexual pleasure, it's any kind of pleasure.
Mhm. And I would say
And
that
yeah,
probably the more fun you have, the more rapport you build.
yeah, it's one of the ways into rapport. So that is such a good point, Darlene, that I wanted to share with everybody, which is so many of us think about that relationship that you thought of at the beginning of the episode is we think we have to resolve the issue before we can have fun or be nice or be kind or be generous or do whatever. And we're like, this big issue is like a wall in between me and the other person. So think about a teenager. Think, oh, they're not respecting the rule of cleaning up their room. So we're just going to be like mean, right? Like
Mhm.
you have to
Mhm.
be harsh.
We can't be nice until they listen or something
Right. We
like
can't
that.
be
Like, no,
nice
there's
until they
no
listen.
fun. I'm not taking, like, my son and I are doing some trips. I'm not
Yeah.
taking him until he straightens up.
Right. That
Uh-huh.
that attitude, we all have it. We've all done it. What I have found over the years is the way through, the way we get him to listen in that
Mhm.
scenario, the way we get the thing to happen that we want to happen is through continuing to relate to the person to build rapport,
Mhm.
including things that are more fun, more lighthearted, and that aren't as heavy as the thing that we're trying to resolve.
Yeah, seriously. Because especially in parenting, you spend so much time like telling your kid what they need to do and what needs to be done. And there's like so much energy spent, like, get your shoes on, sit down, eat your breakfast, whatever, do your homework. That then where's the space to
Mhm.
just be like, tell me more about Pokemon?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yes. And it's something that, or if we're in a rush and we don't have time, like that school, getting to school time, right? We're in a rush and we need to go. Um, how can we build the time to talk about the Pokemon? How can we
Yeah.
build the time that we, and listen, that's hard, right? That's
Yeah.
why we both have jobs because that's hard and we have to figure it out and all that. Like, I don't want to minimize how hard that would be.
No, it's hard.
Dude,
Talk about it in marriage though, because I was thinking, like,
yeah.
what's the Pokemon of
Yeah.
marriage?
Okay.
And
So many. So
because I think
many.
about my particular partner,
Yeah.
and I'm in a long marriage. We've been married
Yeah.
26 years,
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm bored of his Pokemon, or I mean, we'll get into talking
Yeah.
about that, but it's like some of
Yeah.
that rapport building
Yeah.
can be, I'm not that interested. Just like a lot of my clients are like, I don't care about Pokemon. And it's like, I
Yes.
don't care about NBA basketball or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
maybe we
That's
can
so
talk about that in a
interesting.
second.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that. Before we started the recording, I was telling Darlene that we're like cosmically connected in some way. And this idea, we're just going to do a little tangent on this being bored by our partners or bored by the person we want to connect with. I was literally talking about this with my husband this week
Mhm.
because my husband and I do something called the daily check-in. It's a concept that I teach. And it's just checking in. How are you? How was your day? What's going on? What's on your mind? And the Gottman Institute that I quote very often, they research what helps marriages thrive, and then they create interventions based on their research, and they also research what tears people apart, and they create interventions based on both ends of that spectrum. And they call it the self-soothing conversation. Um, and so there's actual research underneath it. But the idea is that you don't problem solve, you're not like troubleshooting anything, you're just sharing how you're doing. But what
Mhm.
happens when you want to share how you're doing, but the other person is bored?
Yeah.
They don't want to
Right.
hear how you're doing.
Or they don't have the capacity. Maybe they're tired. Maybe
Yeah,
they're like, you haven't given me the time of day lately. Like
yeah,
there's so much built underlying resentment that gets built up.
yeah. There's
Mhm.
underlying intent. So what do you do? And actually, perspective and partnership and pleasure, these three things we've already talked about, would be what do you do about being bored or being resentful or whatever? How is there another way I can look at it? So I can
Mm.
look at my partner and say, you're a human on Earth in 2024, and that's fascinating. And my husband's an engineer, I'm a life coach, so we're very much like the yin and the yang. He's very methodical, I'm very creative, like those kinds of things, right? We both also have like a lot of right brain, left brain. We sort of can dabble in each side, but very often we're very focused on the ways we do things. And I could find computer engineering, which is what he does, very boring, right? And I look for what is fascinating about this. Like he works at a credit card processing company. Like, I don't know, finance. Was anybody ever riveted? Do they make movies about that?
They
They
have.
don't, right?
Well, they have made some, like usually if it's like a fraud or scam or
Or something like
something.
that, right? Like where's the heightened drama, right? When people
Yeah.
people
I
do
was like,
things
I would be like, who's getting scammed in your
right,
company
I
or
know,
whatever.
right? So, but we look for, well, what is fascinating about that? What
Mm.
is interesting about that? And that's a practice. That's a habit,
Yeah.
right? So when I say I'm bored, I say it as if it's a state of being that cannot be altered and has no way forward. It's like, no.
Mhm.
I can build a habit to be fascinated by a lot of things, and I can also have boundaries around it.
Yeah.
So that perspective is how else could I look at it? That boundary is like where we add the fun and the pleasures. Also, my husband and I have this as a running thing we do, which is okay, what's the executive summary on that? What are the bullet points? Because
Yeah.
I could like, I don't know, watch an Oprah interview and have like 15 things I want to tell him, right? And he's like, how about the top three? Right? Which makes it more fun for him and still includes some fun for me,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah. So being able to say, like, I'm open to this within this
Yeah.
boundary, within this limit. Yeah.
Yes.
It's very like those who listen to the podcast, very similar when I say, like, hey, if the kid is in a big feeling
Yeah.
cycle, it's like I'm happy to help you within these conditions, like if within this
Yeah.
boundary for the next
Yeah.
couple of minutes, or as long as you're not hitting me.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
you
what are
know.
the parameters around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it's enjoyable to you, so that you
Yeah.
have a level of, oh, I want to learn about this, but I don't need to know everything that was ever written about
Yeah.
Pokemon. I
I'll
don't
listen to
need,
you for 5 full minutes. Ready, go. Yeah.
right, exactly. Pick your favorite parts. Come back
Yes.
to me. You know, pick your favorite parts and come back to me. So, that's anyway, it's just
Yeah,
a little
yeah, it's
tangent
good.
on
I love that you talked about like building a habit of being fascinated. Like really it's a
yeah,
practice and working at
yeah,
how can I on my own take
yeah,
some initiative here and figure out how to find this interesting. And it's maybe it
yeah.
goes into that fourth essential element. Yeah.
Yeah. So personal power. So I taught perspective, partnership, and pleasure for probably a couple years. And then I realized as I kept testing my hypothesis with my clients and working through different situations that you can't consistently practice perspective and partnership and pleasure as things that you turn towards without being engaged with your own personal power, which means simply having the thought, I matter.
Oh, interesting. I matter.
So if I matter, how do I want to handle this conversation? How long do I want to talk about Pokemon? How do I want to look at this situation with generosity and kindness, but also the boundaries, right? With like some things are not okay. If I don't include that I matter, I will allow things that are not okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I include that I matter, then I can explore what is okay and what's not okay.
Yeah, I have a question because I
Yeah.
think sometimes we have this thought that I don't matter to my partner. And
Mm.
I wonder if that's such a limiting belief, like you don't
Yeah.
really even know that whether
Yeah.
that's true or not.
Yeah.
Um, but I wonder if that gets in the way of I matter.
Yeah. So I don't matter to my partner.
Like I matter to myself, but he doesn't give a shit about
Right.
me.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, how sad if we all go through moments where we have a thought like that or
Mm-hmm.
the family of that. And I'll say two things about it. One is my hypothesis is people love us the best they can, not always the way we want to be loved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So very often, not always, sometimes some people, are married to jerks and the partner really doesn't care. And so sometimes that is true. But out of 100 times, maybe it's 10 times, right? The other 90, something else is going on.
Yeah.
And for the other 90, it's more like, oh, the way they express what matters to them is so different than the way I express what matters to me
Yes.
that it almost feels like we're coming from, two completely different planets about this situation.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean I don't matter to them. It's just they express it so differently.
Yeah.
Right?
And that might be where the perspective comes in, right? Like, how can I
Yes.
see this differently?
How can I see this differently?
Mm-hmm.
And it comes in so many ways. I'll tell you one anecdotal thing about this exact thing. I had a client who her thought was he's just not that into me. And she was convinced that this was real, this was what was happening. They were like in a very serious problem because he just wasn't interested. I said, okay, maybe let's test it, let's find out. So her coaching homework that week was to make a note of anything that he did that was kind, that was considerate, that you could tell, he thought of her in order to do that thing.
Yeah.
And she was just supposed to keep a little list, open a Google Doc, just a little bullet point of like, okay, he made me coffee, or he,
Mhm.
turned the thermostat down on the way to the bedroom, or like the tiniest little things, right? So she comes back the next week, and I always say God has a sense of humor, because first of all, she had 17 different things of things he
Of
did throughout
evidence. I always
like
call
all
that.
the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
right? And then that week that we were counting, he like bought her flowers and a card, and I'm like, God just has a sense of humor because
Yes.
this is just
Yes.
ridiculous, right? So apparently that's not the problem. Like,
Yes, right, right. He is into me, or or
yeah,
I can think, I have evidence that he might be into me, right?
yeah,
Like I think of bridge thoughts, like how do
yeah,
I get to
yeah,
the thought that I'm trying to get towards? And it's like, yeah,
yeah,
um, I matter, and
yeah,
then I
yeah,
have evidence that I matter to him or her. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes I'm not looking for it, or I'm looking for them to do it the way I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when we get into all kinds of, sticky situations, because the way you would do it is the way you would do it.
I have a funny story about this. I
Tell
don't want
me.
to go too tangential,
Yeah.
but when I had young kids, right? They were two boys, 2 years apart, wild, play toys all day long. And I would work really hard to make sure that the home was somewhat calm and peaceful when my husband came home from work.
Mhm.
Not to the, I felt sometimes I'm like, am I like 1950s, like changing my outfit and putting a ribbon in my hair and the three of us standing at the doorway, waiting for dad? But I just felt like it was respectful for him. He'd been at work and I wanted to, so I would, clean up the house
Mhm.
and I would clean up the counters and make sure the kitchen was clean and this and that. And then weeks go by, he still walks in grumpy,
Mhm.
um, and kind of gruff around about the house. And there
Mhm.
was a point when I was like, hey, I work so hard at cleaning this house for you when you get home so that
Mhm.
it feels peaceful and calm. And he goes, you do? And I was like, what? Yes. I go and I clean all the countertops and I put some stuff away and da da da. And he goes, every time I walk in here, there's toys all over the floor. And I
Mm.
said, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's just toys. They're just on the floor. Like it's not a big deal. The floor doesn't matter. And he's like, well, the countertops don't matter.
Ah, so good.
And I was like, wait, what? He's like, I don't care if there's shit on the countertops. All these toys in the floor is what I see.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, okay, well, we could probably put those in bins, or put all the toys away or
Yeah.
not or whatever. Like, I don't have to please him, but it was just so fascinating to me to think I'm doing so much that he's not appreciating. And he's like, she's not doing anything.
Yes. I think that's so powerful because when you think about negotiating a life together,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that nobody teaches us in school is this that you just described, which is the skill of asking what is meaningful to you.
Yes.
What would you like? What would be delightful when you get home?
Uh-huh.
And so many of us, and this is such a good example because we twist ourselves into pretzel to do this thing that we think needs to be done because someone somewhere did it on TV or in a movie or whatever. And really what's meaningful to the other person is this really simple thing that's so easy for you to do that it's like, wait, that takes 5 minutes and this takes half an hour and you want the 5 minute thing?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, that's so simple. The boys could do that part.
Yeah.
Just to throw all the toys in the bin because we're going to bed anyway. And then it was like change my whole lifestyle because then the toys were all off the floor for me.
And
But yeah,
something
it's
that happens is
fascinating.
we get so scared of asking the other person, what would you like? Because we think they're going to want something that's so
Even
beyond.
more or more. I'm already doing
Yeah.
everything I could possibly do. I can't do
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. And so I just offer to everyone listening, like, if you just ask the person you want to relate more deeply or better with, what would be meaningful to you? What would you like?
Yes. Yeah. It's,
Just to
I
know.
have like a million examples because my husband used to
Yeah.
order these flowers for me from, I think, like Pro Flowers or something like that.
Yeah.
And they came in a box with no vase.
Yeah. No. I'm a hard no on that.
I am a hard no too. And like he kept doing, he would buy me flowers and then he would,
Hmm.
or go to Trader Joe's and buy flowers.
Yeah.
And then he just hand them to me. And I was like, this is work. I do not
Yeah.
want to
That
do
it.
any work
Yeah.
when I receive a gift.
Yeah.
And eventually I said, I love what you're doing, but I don't like the way you're doing it. And he
Oh,
was
that's a
like, what?
great way to say it too.
Yeah. And he was
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? And I was like, I then have to cut these flowers and throw the trash away and then put them in the vase and that. And he's like, oh, what do you want? I was like, just put them in a vase. And he's
Yeah.
like,
Buy the
okay,
ones that come in a vase. They have them in some supermarkets too.
yes, right. Or if you buy them, put
Yeah.
them in a vase. And like
Yeah.
Valentine's just passed, and
Yeah.
I come down and there's a beautiful arrangement in a vase. And I am appreciative of it. So I think this is really interesting to talk about, like how sometimes we miss each
Yes.
other. We're trying to do things and the
Yeah.
other person isn't seeing them.
Yes.
And it's like, it's so much easier. It's so much easy to say, oh, they don't care. They don't care. They're not thinking about me. They don't have
Versus
perspective.
asking for what you want. So this is another great example of you had to have the belief that you mattered to even ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so just the thought, like, I matter, so I get to ask for things that I find pleasing or delightful, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then when you made the ask, you prioritized building rapport. You prioritize the partnership. I appreciate what you're doing. I don't like the way you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most beautiful ways to give feedback to someone and say, hey, your effort is recognized. I see you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what would delight me.
So good.
Okay.
Everyone should just write that bit down
Yeah.
right there. Let's talk about, we've kind of talked about it a little bit. So let's go back. Okay. So it's perspective.
Yes.
Is there another way to look at this?
Yep.
Partnership.
Shit.
Are we on the
Mm-hmm.
same team?
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure. Are we having fun?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Personal power. Am I thinking I matter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we've kind of talked about, like when we're feeling that disconnection, or like
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're raising kids, there's so much going on. You got like every weekend is filled with a birthday party and a soccer game and housework, and oh, it's just you. Then you got to go to your in-laws. It is a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's easy to feel drifted apart,
Mm-hmm.
and that disconnection. So it's like kind of like what do you see is the main culprit of why we get disconnected, and then sort of what are some ways to get back?
Mm. Okay, so
And please
it's
don't say
so
date night or everyone will stop listening. I'm just kidding.
okay. That wasn't even in my awareness, but good to know. Thank you for the
Because I
warning.
think that's what we hear a lot. You need to prioritize date night. And people are like, "What are you talking? Where? Who's going to watch my kids?" Like it just feels like
Yes.
another
So yeah.
thing. So let's talk about yeah.
So let's just take another tangent on that. So I don't call it date night.
Uh huh.
I like to think about it for the same reason
Mm-hmm.
as together time.
I love that.
And together time can be in the morning having 5 minutes of coffee. Together
Mm-hmm.
time can be right after you put the kids to bed and you have like 20 minutes to just breathe. Like
Yeah.
together, it's more what works for you. Some
Yeah.
people love going out on dates. I love my house. I don't even need to leave my house. You know what I'm saying? We have a hot date planned tonight, and
Ooh.
our hot date is I'm obsessed with Formula One, and we're gonna watch Drive to Survive on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't be more excited, right?
I
Like,
love it.
and then we planned what are we gonna eat? What are we gonna have? It's gonna be pizza night.
Uh-huh.
Like we have a
Uh-huh.
whole plan for this thing, but it's what works for you. So anybody, whenever you hear date, someone say date night, you just say together time that works for me. Just replace that whole sentence. Together
Yeah.
time that works for us. That is important. I will tell you
Yeah.
that when I talk to people who are struggling in their marriages, because I'm a marriage coach, I talk to a lot of people who are struggling in
You
their marriages.
think?
Um, when I ask them how much time do you spend together,
Mm-hmm.
the people who are struggling the most spend the least time,
Yeah.
and people who are thriving spend the most
It's
time.
definitely there's definitely a correlation.
There's
Yeah.
definitely prioritizing how you think about the together time, how you plan,
Mm.
like all of these different pieces. Um, it just shows you where your work is. It just shows you what do I need to figure out here, right?
Yeah.
When there's a deficit of time together, sometimes you were asking me what creates the drift. So
Mm.
that's just I want to name it. So that feeling of disconnection, we feel like roommates instead of soulmates, anything like that. Um, what this is something that specific term was coined by the Gottman Institute, who I love quoting because it's just so clear and distinct. So the drift is if you imagine yourself in the ocean and you and your partner, let's say in this case in a marriage or deep relationship, the natural inclination of the ocean is for you to drift apart.
Mm.
But this is true in any relationship with your kids, with your cousin, with your parents, any relationship. Your natural if the natural flow of life is just for you to drift apart unless you turn towards each other on purpose.
Mm.
Even at work, right? Even if like you have different projects and different things, you have to choose to do those projects on purpose that day. And if we don't choose to turn towards each other, we just continue to drift further and further and further apart. Now, you gave that example of every weekend is filled.
Yeah.
Now, here's where I would take that perspective and say, is there another way I can look at this? Why is every weekend filled? How do I want to
Mm.
decide how to fill my weekend? Right? If my let's say my family matters, like my relationship with my kids, and my marriage matters, my relationship with my partner, how do I want those weekends to look? What will I say yes to and what will I say no to?
Yeah. I'd love to speak to that for a second because
Yeah.
we actively chose not to do travel sports
Mm-hmm.
like club
Mm-hmm.
anything because my husband worked like 60 hours a week and he had a commute and he was just not we called Hollywood widows. That's what
Mm-hmm.
the term is for people who are married to people in the film industry.
Mm-hmm.
And he would leave and I would not see him
Mm-hmm.
till like I wouldn't see him. I would go to bed and he was not home. Like most of the years that I was raising young kids. But
Mm-hmm.
then he didn't work on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were so precious about our weekends and
Yes.
he needed to be at home because he wasn't at home.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to be driving, an hour and a half and sitting on a field and
Yes.
this kind of thing and having our life be that way. So we were really like protective of that. And
Yes.
I'm grateful for those decisions. Now, did it maybe impact my kids because they didn't get better at sports?
Yeah.
right? Or whatever, we weren't maybe as qualified to play on the high school team and that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Mhm.
Sure, possibly, but they had a relationship with their dad who
Yeah.
was happy and their parents' marriage was working. And so that
Yes.
was just more important to us.
Yeah.
But that's because of our time constraints.
Yeah. Well, for you, it's sort of like you had this organic reason to have to decide.
Yes.
And most of us don't have an organic reason to have to decide. So we just react on a day to day basis of like whatever falls in front of us. We just,
Right. Everyone else is doing it. We should just do this or like,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So the people who are listening to this podcast, like, yay, you for listening to the podcast
Yeah.
and being intentional about how you want to raise your kids and how you want to show up in your relationships. And like, and part of that being intentional is there will always be in management, if you have an MBA or something like that, there will always be an opportunity cost. It's
Mhm.
the price I pay for the thing I don't do, right? So I invest over here, I'm giving up something over there. There's a cost. So in your case, it's such a beautiful illustration. It's like the cost is okay. The kids' journey in sports is going to be different because they made you as parents made this choice, but
Mhm.
their journey in life is going to be different because you as parents made this choice. So it's like, am I willing to pay the price of that
Mhm.
opportunity cost? For me, I'm very social. I do podcast interviews. I coach people. I talk and listen in deep ways with a lot of hyper focus all the time. And sometimes on the weekend, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
And so sometimes my wonderful, amazing extended family is always doing things. And my opportunity cost is I miss out sometimes on time with them to rest and just be with a book or just be quiet or just watch a movie. And it's like, am I willing to pay that cost? Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not.
I remember now I coined this phrase like work recovery. So we had
Ooh.
like these five priorities was work
Hmm.
recovery, our marriage, our
Hmm.
kids, and our house.
Hmm.
And that those five things sometimes I always think of as a Ferris wheel, like whatever's at the top, but the things are still important. And sometimes the Ferris wheel is moving, 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 and it's all great
Yeah.
and everything's getting managed. And other times something's at the top and that's what you're focused on. And it's
Yeah.
not like you're going to forget about all the rest.
Yes.
And there was a lot of weekends that was like work and work recovery.
I love that so much.
We would just spend time being in recovery. And
Yeah.
that's not, maybe working on our parenting or marriage, or like we're just like letting the kids do whatever, or like we're just all doing our own thing
Yeah.
because we're recovering from a
Yes.
heavy work week. And then other times it's like, no, this is a house weekend. This is a project weekend. We're going to focus on our marriage. We're going to be really invested in our kids, whatever. Yeah.
I love work recovery. It's so clear.
Yeah.
And I love thinking about I talk about like nerding out on some of these things, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm
We love it.
nerding out on this right now. So I talk a lot about how in nature things happen in a cyclical manner. But our Western industrialized society, where productivity is revered like a deity,
Mhm.
we pretend like humans don't need work recovery.
Yeah. I
We
know.
pretend. And
Yeah.
then we burn out, and then we have all these other health issues and all these other relationship issues because we're just pretending that we are widgets in a factory as opposed to like organic organisms that work the way the rest of the planet works, right?
Right.
There's night and day, there's ebb and flow of
Yeah.
the
Well,
ocean.
there's winter.
There's
Sometimes there's whole seasons.
there's whole seasons.
Mhm. That's
We're
why it always
all
makes me laugh. Like, why am I making goals in January? All I want to do is hide in a bush and like be in my couch and be quiet. And then, middle of February, people start to emerge out a little bit.
ah,
And it's like, oh, yeah, because we should probably be making goals and have a new year at the spring.
yes, when everything is blooming, when everything is growing. Like the idea that we would pause and
Mhm.
ask ourselves, how do I want it to go? Again, is a perspective. It's like, how do I want to think about this thing? And
Mhm.
then I matter, so I get to choose how I relate to my life.
I know. It's so good. I matter. Yeah. And that means saying no. And you said, yeah, opportunity is a cost. And like, yeah, well, I always think we really do need to have our priority. Like, what's important to us in
Yes,
this season
yes,
or big picture? I would always say, like,
yes.
early in those years, I'd say, I want to be married to Kevin in the back end. I would say that, like, whatever was going on and struggle, and we were, had
Yeah.
so many struggles those years. And it's like, I need to do whatever I can to set myself up for the back end, which I'm about to go into empty nest. I have a senior in high school, last kid. And
Yeah.
it's this man and I, that
Yeah.
will be married 27 years. And it's like, okay, we're at our back end.
Here we are. We made
Yeah.
it.
What's it going to look like? I have no idea. So I
Mm.
have a lot of work to do. But I think that was one of my priorities, is like, how can I make sure that this marriage is
Yeah.
it exists?
Right. In a way
And
that works for you.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it was just, let's keep it existing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. And then we'll figure it out. Yeah. Totally.
yeah. But that, okay, I want to talk about that. Like, that you have this concept, and I love it, and I've learned a lot about this, is like, your spouse doesn't have to change in order for you to be
Yes.
happy. And
Yes.
I really had to own that for myself
Mhm.
in order to then have the marriage I wanted. And
Yes.
so I would love for you to talk about that. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Sometimes our spouses do change. Sometimes we do shift things in ourselves. Just like when you teach your parents how to deal with their kids' behavior actually does change.
100%. And I actually do see this with
Yeah.
this concept
Yeah.
with my
Yeah.
husband. Yes.
Yeah. So what we stop doing is we stop hanging our happiness on it.
Yeah.
Stop hanging and like literally, like, well, figuratively, not literally, figuratively, like making it conditional that I cannot have peace or joy or anything good unless this changes. We become detached to in our relationship to, like, how do I want to handle this? And
Mhm.
inside that detachment, we create space where very often the byproduct is the person responds in different ways.
Oh my, I see it so much in the parenting work. Like,
Yes.
we stop focusing on their behavior and what they're doing wrong and how much the kid is like a problem, and we shift to, it's
Yes.
this is different than in marriage, but shift to like, what a delight list is one of the things I teach. Like, what are the things that I like about this kid? And then
Yes.
the perspective stuff, where is it going well, and like bringing
Yes.
pleasure into the relationship. And
Yes.
then the like little tiny feeling between the two people, the energy shifts
Yes.
and
Okay.
it grows.
So that's it. So the idea is you don't have to wait for the person to be different before you take action towards what you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's another, like, layer of nuance within that. It's like if I'm waiting for my spouse to change, I'm just going to sit and wait for a very long time. Right? Versus, okay, if I release whether they change or not as part of the essential part of the equation, what do I want different? How would I plan my weekend? What do I
Mm-hmm.
want to prioritize? I start doing the things that engage me in the world, and then they simply respond to what you're presenting in front of them. So
Yeah.
instead of me, I don't know, nitpicking something and getting all annoyed about it, I'm like, I would be so delighted if we stayed home this weekend. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this and this and this. Would you like to join me for any part of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And make that invitation. I think sometimes it's easy to stop inviting
Yeah.
and stop trying. Yeah. Or like, I invited my husband to this thing I got tickets to, like an LA food and wine festival type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you want to come? And he's like, no, it's crowded. I don't really care about food. I don't drink. Like, da, da. And I'm like, really want to make him wrong.
Yeah.
Well, like, what's
The
wrong with you? What
impulse.
what are
Yeah.
you doing? You're so boring. You're so lazy. You're so, like, I really want to make him like wrong, and then bringing the perspective in of like, I can go. I can find someone who would love it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean anything about our relationship, doesn't mean anything about him.
Yeah.
And then if I also want him to go, he will.
Yeah.
If I present it in a way that's like, it would make it fun for me if you came.
Or is there any part of this that's interesting to you? Like, what if we just went for lunch?
Yeah, right, right. We just got our bellies full. Yeah.
Right? Like, how do we make it a win-win for both of us? And my husband and I have gone to the lengths, so to speak, of we could sometimes go in separate cars to things.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like, what part of this do I want to engage in, and what part of this do I not want to engage in? It's removing also all or nothing thinking
Yeah.
from our marriage or our partner or how we approach things,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it is saying, I would really love to have this experience and I'd love to have it with you.
Mm-hmm.
would you be willing to spend an afternoon? Here's how I'm thinking we would approach it. Here's what I'm thinking we would do.
Yeah.
And just sometimes we can be uncomfortable or do things that aren't our favorite thing in service and love to the person that we care about. That's
Mhm.
okay, but how we approach it, giving them the space to
Mhm.
say like, oh, I want to be there all day. Well, could we just do the afternoon? Like giving them the space to have like, what is the essence of the thing that you want? And then finding how that's possible with the other person.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I can be happy if he says no.
Yeah.
I can still do my thing. And
Yes.
yeah, that, and I can keep inviting. I just think we get like, I'm going to do my own thing. I see this like when parents have kids like in middle school, if their kids get a
Mhm.
little bit older where they can stay home alone or they're not
Mhm.
as needy, the children,
Mhm.
and the drifting has happened.
Yep.
And then it's like, I go do this with my friends and I go, I'm out here and I'm on this trip with the girls and this and that. And there's not really the invitation of
Yes.
coming together and saying, like, I care about this relationship. I want to, be in it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. I'm okay. And I want more from,
From that relationship.
yeah.
And whether it's with your kids or with your partner, it's okay, there's a space for me to do the things that I'm interested in.
Mhm.
And what's the space where we as a family or you and I in our relationship, what are the things that we could do together that could be fun for both of us where we can connect? And then how do I prioritize those things
Yeah.
within also exploring the things that matter to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a
Yep.
dance. It's a little bit
It
of a
is.
dance.
It is. And it's a lot of talking like it out a little bit
Yeah.
and creating space. Like your daily check in sounds
Yeah.
like a nice pattern or habit that you have. And
Yeah.
that might be the room of like, let's just talk through this weekend. Or
Yes.
I got an invitation to this thing. I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Even having a simple conversation as a family on what do you value, like what's important to you.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm sure everyone listening can see that there are things we value more than other things,
Yeah.
but sometimes we don't articulate that.
Mhm.
You all are listening to this podcast and you're like, oh yeah, that's so important. Okay. So it's like, do I value freedom? Do I value routine? Do I value
Mhm.
spontaneity? Do I value planning? Do I value time together, having adventures? Or do I value meeting lots of different new people and giving my kids lots of different types of experiences? What do I value? Right.
Yeah.
And within that, then what are the places where we can honor the things each person in the family values?
Yeah. I think I noticed it as I parented longer or had a family longer. And I like look back and I was like, oh, apparently we really value going to national parks.
Ah,
Oh my God. But I was like, okay, nature, time outside. This was like a huge value that I don't know if it was articulated, but you could see it in our life. Like
yes.
what you sometimes maybe you don't know what you value, but you can look at the decisions you've made
Yes.
and see, oh, we spend a lot of time doing this type of thing.
Yeah.
Is this, I must care about this, or do I care about this? I've spent so much time doing this.
Why? Wait,
Do
was
I
it my
even like
grandfather
it?
or was it me? Right? Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the way you can tell what you value really quickly for everyone listening
Please
is
tell us.
look at your calendar and look at your bank account
Hmm.
immediately. So my husband and I, we live in Miami. We could be at South Beach every weekend. We don't value that. There's nothing, if you look at our credit card statement, there's nothing about that. We go on family breakfast at a hole in the wall place that is like authentic Nicaraguan food. And because my husband,
Uh-huh.
you can immediately see if you look at your bank account, these are the things I value,
Yeah.
right? I have a very humble car. I drive a Hyundai. I love it. It's amazing. But I spend a lot of money on coaching. I'm a coach.
Hmm.
And if you look at my bank account, you'd be like, oh, this woman values coaching, right?
Uh-huh.
You can immediately tell. And then your calendar are do you go on trips? Do
Hmm.
you go out every weekend? Do you spend money on art? Do you have beautiful art in your office? Like you can immediately tell, and then you can allow that to be clues as to like, oh, what if I valued it on purpose
Yeah. Hmm. Or is this actually important to me?
in this chapter? Yeah.
Yeah, like I just think about my own budget because I've been doing like really severe budgeting those past couple of years. Like,
Mhm.
write down everything, whatever.
Mhm.
Well, I don't write it down. The credit card tells me what I spent.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think like, oh, I'm thinking as you ask that, like, oh, is that really what I want to value? Like,
Yeah. But that's
is
a
this,
great question.
yeah,
So,
like, oh, wow, I spent a lot of money on that. Do I even care about it? Do I want to do that?
does it still matter to me the way it mattered before?
Yeah. Or is it just a habit that,
Is it just a
yeah.
habit?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah.
so good. Well, that's just some life coaching right there.
There you go.
Okay. Anything that you wanted to tell us that we haven't talked about? And I want to spend a few minutes talking about your program because I do want to give everyone listening a chance to know how to work with you. But like, really, I think on a podcast, we sometimes leave that to the end. You're like, okay, so go to my website. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I would love for you to tell us what you do in your 6 month
Yeah.
program and like lay it
Yeah.
out a little bit and give us some room to breathe into it because it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. Let's talk about that. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
would love for you to ask me anything you're curious
Uh-huh.
about the program because for me, I don't know anything about human design. I know nothing, but I
Oh,
have been told that I thrive when I'm in response. So when you
yeah,
ask
yeah.
me a question, I'm just like, yes, let's dive in, as opposed to like, oh my gosh, I could tell you 54 things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Now I
yeah.
want to just talk about human design.
That's another episode. That's
It is
another
another
conversation.
episode. It's funny because a couple weeks ago on the a podcast, I was like talking about internal family systems, and I was like, "But we can't talk about that today." And I was like, "It's another episode."
Yeah.
Um, okay, I want to know.
Mhm.
It's a 6 month container.
Yes.
It's a group program,
Yes.
and I think like someone comes in and they're most of the time struggling, right, in their
Yeah.
marriage. Maybe they feel um, hopeless, or they feel discouraged, or they feel like they're in pain. And I wonder what that is like to go into a group when you're feeling that vulnerable. I'd love for you to talk about that.
Yeah, I would say the people who end up working with me are hopeful because that's why they join the program.
Oh, because they buy it. They're like, oh, we're going to
Yeah,
be
we're
okay. Or
we're
like,
we're
there's
gonna
a hope.
figure this out. We're gonna do something about it. So it is
Yeah.
a slightly different. It is vulnerable, 100%,
Uh huh.
and it is a tender time in your relationship when you're kind of thinking about what do I want my marriage to look like. I tend to have two different like types of people who come and work with me in the program, and it's someone who's like at a turning point who really needs to decide. Sometimes it's empty nest. What do I want my marriage to be about now? It's really sort of a reset in the relationship in some way. Sometimes it is taking things from good to great, where it's like a lot of things are working really well, but there's some things that aren't, and we need to calibrate those. And then sometimes it's, I really need help. I don't know how to talk to this person, or I don't know, like, it's really how do we relate to each other. So, um, it is a little bit of a variety in a group program.
Mm-hmm.
Some people really thrive in a group environment, hearing celebrations, hearing struggles, feeling less alone. And some people really, and I just really want to say this as a coach, really need to do like one-on-one work. If you
Yeah.
don't thrive in a group program, you shouldn't do a group program. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no good, bad, better, worse thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like what are the conditions in which you thrive? And
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to just think about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when people apply, that's why I have an application process for them, because I really want to check in on what do they want to get out of it, all those kinds of sort of logistical things. So when someone comes in, we talk about the stress cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say, if anybody has done your program, they will love my program because we are cut from the same cloth and some of the things that we teach and that we do. So they come in and they get a whole orientation sequence. They get an email, they get a video workshop, which part of it is just the logistics of how to get the most out of the program. And part of that orientation is how does your stress cycle work?
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide what to focus on when you're in the program? What are your top three values in your relationship? And how can we help you turn towards them over and over and over again? And what gets in the way of you turning towards them? So I have some actual teaching training pieces, and then they can come to our coaching calls. We have live coaching calls as well. They can ask questions about what they're learning. They can get coached in their specific situation. And I mix a lot of teaching with coaching So even when I'm coaching, I teach little pieces of things.
Yeah, that's how I do it too, because it's not always sometimes you need some basic information or a
Yes.
skill. There's a
Yeah.
skill gap, and so we have to like kind of, well, here's a skill or here's a little bit of concept, and now
Yeah.
knowing this, how would you respond?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly, if I was going to distill it down, it's like, now knowing this, what comes up for you, how,
Yeah.
where could you get stuck? What could get in the way? So that kind of thing. Um, what else? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
basically
I love it.
yeah.
So is it ongoing enrollment or is how does it work?
So we're talking in 2024. Who knows?
Yeah.
If you're listening to this in the future, just go to my website and we'll see.
That's how I feel about my programs. I'm like,
This is
we're always in,
yeah.
perpetual response to whatever is happening.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
This is the truth today. So
yep,
today,
yeah,
it is a continuous enrollment program, which means if you're listening to this and you're inspired and you want to apply, you can go to my website. All the details are there. And so you have, just like you would join, I don't know, something that expires. I was going to join a gym, but a gym doesn't necessarily have an expiration date.
right.
But you start on your first day, and then in 6 months, you have an end date.
Uh-huh.
Um, and you can continue on if you want to.
Can
You
like
do
renew
have
again or
you
whatever.
renew again or whatever. But it's 6 months, and the reason that it's 6 months is I really think you need to have time to sort of fall down and get back up again, and fall down and get back up again, and
Mm-hmm.
play with some of the tools and the teachings and the things that I talk about, and breathe with it. Because I could teach everything in like a week, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But you have to go into, it's kind of you with kids. You have to go into your marriage,
yeah,
you have to do some of these things, have some
yeah,
of these hard conversations, and then come back and say, okay, here's where I landed now. Here's what's going on now. And for that, I think you need space to breathe.
yeah, and have support in that
Yeah,
process.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So if they want to join or learn more about the program, they go to maggiereyes.com.
.com/group.
Group. And then what
All
is it called? Like we've
it's
been saying MBA, but what is it?
yeah, it's called the Marriage MBA.
Uh-huh.
Is the name, and it actually stands for the Marriage Mindset Breakthrough Activator.
I love
My
it.
intention behind it is that you will always be able to create your own breakthroughs once you learn the things that I'm teaching you in the program and practice the things that I'm teaching you. Is I have this very deep, abiding desire that you learn how to do it for yourself.
Mhm.
I was just watching an interview with the founder of Hinge. It's a dating app, and one of their principles is designed to be deleted.
Yeah.
Obsessed with this principle. It's like I want to coach you, I want to help you for as long as you need help and support and all those things. But more than that, I want you to be able to internalize the things we're talking about,
Yeah.
so that you can, 10 years from now, just fall back on that skill and know exactly how to handle any situation that comes up in your relationship with confidence and with grace.
I love that. Sometimes I'll think to myself, like, oh, I don't see that client that much anymore, or something like that. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's because they got what they came for.
Yeah.
Like they learned the
Yeah.
things they wanted to learn and they're now implementing them. And that's beautiful. And that's the whole purpose. Like
Yeah.
we're not trying to create people who constantly need us. Like it's like, let me give you some skills and a foundation, and then you go create the marriage you want. You go create the parenting relationships you want. It's like
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. We'll put all the details to find Maggie in the show notes. And yeah, I'm just so grateful.
Thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
got to I got to have fun with my crush today.
That's how I feel too. All week I was like, I get to talk to Maggie this week. I was really thrilled. So thanks so much for being here.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
everyone. Hope you have a great week. Hey, Mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do two things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful practical parenting strategies. just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.